Welcome to the Xcession podcast. So today we are joined, Dan, by Stuart Salt and Anca Otet, who work for a company called Transputec. We'll let those guys introduce themselves in a minute, but they have recently made the decision to change their service management tool set. And we thought it would be very interesting for our listeners to really learn a bit about the journey that Stuart and Anca have been through, some of the reasons for changing the tool set, some of the sort of benefits and outcomes I think that they're looking for, and then to hear more about the experience that they've gone through, looking at vendors in the market, and what's prompted their final decision. Hopefully that will be of benefit to anybody that's in a similar situation. So, Stuart, perhaps we could start with you. If you could introduce yourself.
Thank you, Sunil, and good afternoon, everybody. My name's Stuart Salt. I'm the Director of Services here at Transputec, and I'm basically responsible for the services we deliver to our customers.
Very good. Thank you, Stuart. Great to have you. And Anca.
Thank you, Sunil. I'm Anca. I'm the head of end user support here at Transputec and have been working with Transputec for over 6 years. And I have over 18 years of experience in IT services by now, so quite a longer time. Thank you.
So, Anca, you're responsible for the team that day to day, week to week, use your service management tool set. And Stuart, you take that helicopter view over everything that's happening and look at reports with forensic levels of detail. Is that right?
I think that's a very polite way of saying what I do, Sunil, but it's correct. Yes. Anca runs it all, and I look at the reports. I think that's probably fair.
Excellent. So I guess the first question was, and I think Anca, maybe as you and your team are using or we're using the old tool set all the time. So what prompted the decision to look at something new?
I think one of the most important factors in moving to another platform was the lack of innovation and the missing features that we had from the previous supplier. They were not evolving to the new pace that we needed. Since the platform hasn't been introducing the new features that we needed, and they have not aligned with the latest trends, and also it was not focused on customer outcomes that we felt that is really important for us. That was the moment that we have decided that is the best moment to start looking around and see what else is in there, and if there are other tools that could help us in providing the best customer experiences and enhance our customer experience.
Yes. Okay. So the big message there was really that they weren't developing their tool set in line with other vendors, and so therefore you were suffering, I think.
Yes, in a few words.
Yeah. What about you, Stuart? What thoughts do you have around, what it meant, for you and the way you represented the business?
Well, I suppose to put it in context, the day I joined Transputec nearly 7 years ago, the company had signed the contract with this ITSM provider 2 weeks before I joined. So I didn't get a choice in taking on this project. And it was clear to me from the outset that it was more of a PSA tool rather than an ITSM tool. Nevertheless, the decision's made, we carry on, and it's been here for 6 years. I think with that in mind, it's not really brought the value I would like it to bring to our customers. If you think of Transputec, we're an award-winning MSP. We focus on customer care, and really this was hidden in the background. It was almost like we were a bit embarrassed of the platform, and I very much wanted this to lead as a differentiator about how we can improve the experience, engagement with Transputec. We have amazing people, but this platform was quite clunky, just really didn't do what we needed it to do, and hence it was sort of more of a workhorse, bit threadbare. It did a job, but we get to a stage now where actually we need to be leading from the front in terms of our customer experience through this platform, and that's where we got to in this juncture.
Mm.
So having made this decision to move to a new tool set, can you tell us a little bit about how you then went to market, did your evaluation, some of the key differentiators, what factors were important, what kind of tick list did you have, must-haves, should-haves, sort of any kind of Moscow assessment you did? Can you walk us through kind of your experience there? I mean, yeah, talk to us about the journey a little bit. That'd be great.
I think I can start with that, and then Stuart, if he wants, he can jump in. Initially, we started by identifying the gaps that we had in the tool that we were using at the moment. Then we started looking at our needs and the requirements, and then defining the objectives and the specific functionalities that we need as a company, as an organization, and something that would fit the services that we deliver. Then we started to look at all sorts of various reviews, case studies, looking at and attending specific events for ITSM service providers, and ultimately user feedback. And then we had also some interviews with other companies that are using other providers to see what was their journey into using specific tools. Then we have obviously shortlisted a specific name tools. I'm not going to name them in this podcast. We have shortlisted some vendors that had the features and the capabilities on our must-have and should-haves list. And one of those tools that were on the short list, they have impressed us that they have had a comprehensive suite of functionalities, features, and the customization that we were missing and we wanted. Obviously, we have had multiple factors that we looked at in terms of the subscription model, the implementation, the easy of configuration, configuring the tool, the ongoing administration of the tool, also how much time we will need to invest from our perspective in terms of having an admin, a developer, any other long-term commitments that we would need to have for getting this tool running, and the timelines that we will need, the ongoing support, and ultimately the vendor engagement. That is one of the things that is really important for us to see, that they engage with us, they are open to feedback, and they want to make this relationship or work with us.
So just to sum that up, very comprehensive. Yeah, you've really done a very broad assessment there, looking at internally first, and then saying, right, okay, and then it's a time-consuming process as well, right? So there's a big commitment there. So that just sort of, to me, would demonstrate what you were saying a moment or two ago, Stuart, about absolutely trying to maximize this aspect of your service provision for your customers. So obviously a very serious endeavor, right? And so it should be, personally speaking.
And I think, just to add to that, Daniel, we are an MSP, so everything that we do is with customers, and it's got to make that engagement and journey much better. So we were looking at any new platform, it's got to integrate with our philosophies about how we want to deal with customer experience. It's got to enable us to use far more automation. It's got to leverage things like AI. And it's quite interesting when we evaluated the market that quite a lot of vendors that say they are, or use the term AI in some of their material, it's not necessarily embedded in their platforms, or it's potentially just an afterthought. And we wanted to, Yes. And we were very clear on that, because one of our areas of our research and development as an organization, as Transputec, is we've developed a sort of AI MSP service desk augmentation tool called Neo ourselves. So we were very used to this area, and so we knew what the art of the possible is. And so when we were looking for a more enterprise platform for this, we could ask those. We had some experience. We knew what we wanted to achieve, and probably cuts through to some potential later questions. We knew how to cut through the marketing gloss to determine, can it actually do what we need it to do. You know, we know the processes we want. We're an experienced provider. We know exactly what we need it to do, but can it actually achieve what our outcomes we need? So I think that AI and automation was very key to us as part of the core elements of that product, and it's been engineered with that in mind. That was quite key for me.
It's interesting that when we started this conversation, you talked about how your existing or soon to be old tool set didn't move with the market. So I imagine having confidence in your selection or your final selection, you know, and the confidence that that vendor will continue to develop the tool set, and actually you won't be left behind again, must have been really important too.
Yeah. I think the litmus test on the our current or legacy platform, one perfect example was the self-service portal or the customer portal, how customers could engage with that. And for many years, there was no portal that I would be happy I could even offer to my customers from this particular vendor. It was just deficient. Upgrades happened. It was always on the R&D list, but never happened. Many years later, there's a release, still was nowhere near what a modern professional MSP and a customer would expect. And I think through, I suppose, like anything in life, when you know what you don't want, you can start to hazard what you need and what your hygiene factors are, what's going to bring satisfaction. Talking to our customers, knowing how they engage with us and MSPs, it's very different to being used as an internal product, but using for external customers. We've got to meet their needs at all times, and they need multi-channel platforms to engage with us.
And that's a fundamental offering now, is, you know, it's standard. You'd expect
Absolutely.
Customer-facing user experience type portal where they can, as you say, engage with your company, and it's a representation of your company as well. So the fact that you had that kind of doubt in your back of your mind around, you know, I wouldn't want to let our customers see this, you know, that's quite telling. Yeah.
Anca, I've got a question for you, because you talked about lots of things actually that formed your selection process. So license, cost and types, implementation, ease of config, ongoing administration, support, the engagement from the vendor, lots of things there. How did you, and I think the reason I ask this question is because a lot of organizations find this really difficult, and understandably so, because there are so many things to look at. But how did you evaluate offerings against those different areas? I mean, did you spend time looking into each vendor and each of those subcategories, or, you know, was there a more holistic view on it? Because it's quite a difficult thing to do, isn't it?
Yes, I'm a spreadsheet person.
Are you?
So-
Okay.
So
tip number one, spreadsheet.
yes, I came up with let's say a tool, a evaluation vendor workbook, where you set up your high value use cases. What is really important for you, and as you said, with prioritization, must have, should have, could have, and won't have necessarily things that you don't really want to, but they can be on the feature list. And then you go through all the technical, you do another one with all the technical requirements, same with must have, should have, in terms of all the requirements that you want from the tool. Then qualifications, references, any type of business cases, all sorts of things that you can get online or from different other means for those shortlisted. Obviously, you cannot do this for all the vendors. You can do it only for a short list of vendors. And then you go through all your deliverables, how you see your components on that, or on the project plan, on the security plan, requirements, all sorts of things around retention and compliance, test plans, end user training plans, and so on, that you want to have a comprehensive view of each tool, what functionality, what features they have, and how it matches against your list of what you want from the tool, the technical requirements, obviously also the cost, total cost of ownership, any other type of cost that will be associated with the project, and then obviously you do a compare between them. It's not an exhausted list, and I'm not saying that that is the tool to use or to do, because what you'll find out when you go out to the market, lots of the vendors will tell you, we do incident management, we do service request management, we have the portal. Like also our previous supplier told us that, yes, we do a portal, but it's also, okay, the quality of that portal. Is that portal, or is that incident management module is going to provide us with what we need? And in that moment, it comes the testing and looking at the tool more closely and saying, okay, you are saying that, yes, I do incident management, but how you do it, how I need to set it up. If I have a new client on board, how easy is going to be that one to be used, and so on. So there are other components to look and factor in. So depending on how your organization works, what are the most important processes, what is the most important for you, for your customers, and ultimately for your end users, because you want to make it as easy as possible for everyone, including your colleagues and your employees, the way that they engage with the tool. So it's a very complex assessment. It's not something that you can do overnight. It is not something that you can engage in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month time, saying, oh, I'm going to evaluate 3 vendors, 4 vendors, and then I'm going to decide. It's a more complex process that you have to go through and look at what they do, how they do things, and how they match your organization and your environment.
So how long did you spend? Because that is a super list of priorities there.
I think me and Stuart, we started discussing as soon as we started that we have not felt that the tool that we were using is the best. Obviously, we tried engaging with the supplier, trying to get as many updates and see what is their roadmap, how they always promise that they will do things. Obviously, at a certain point, we saw that they haven't. 2 years ago, I have decided, and I went to Stuart and said, okay, we need to start doing something about this. So he started, and he mentioned one term that I remember even now: start socializing with the tools out there. So I started socializing with the tools on the market, and started to
does that mean going out
to
for dinner with them, or does that mean something else?
exactly. I went out to all sorts of events. So I went out to dinner with them to see all sorts of vendors. And obviously, after some time, we came across you guys, and it made things even better in terms of trying to engage with vendors in this market.
So that's a really good point for me to make, to state for the clarity of all of our listeners that Xcession have not resold or had any commercial arrangement in place with Transputec. Just to be clear, this is not because you are an existing customer in that sense of ours that we're doing this podcast. Disclaimer now stated. Can I ask a question about your engagement with vendors? And Stuart, you made a comment earlier on about this. How did you find that? Did you think they were honest and representative about their relative strengths and weaknesses? You know, what was it like? Because, you know, it's a fairly commoditized marketplace, and I think our feeling at Xcession is sometimes that maybe the marketing hyperbole isn't quite backed up with reality. That's our impression. Interested in yours. Whoever would like to take that.
I think I would say that you are right, and and from my perspective, it's clunky. You cannot find there is no proper source where I can tell you, yes, go on Gartner and you'll find all your information about ITSM tools, or go there on Wikipedia or whatever. You'll find the details that you want. No, there is no proper source that will give you the information that you need. And depending on the size of the vendor, you'll be able to engage directly with them or not. So what we found in our journey is that it's really hard to get engaged with the big sharks out there, the big vendors that are probably in top 4 or 5 in Gartner, for example. You'll not engage with them directly. You'll always have to find partners that will be able to help you if you want to see a demo or to test it. And sometimes they are not so interested in engaging with small to medium-sized organizations. Usually they go only on the enterprise level, and that's it. But this is where you guys have helped us in arranging demos and QA sessions with experts in some tools that otherwise would have been pretty difficult for us to arrange and to get in touch with.
So I think Anca's made a good point. I think my only other observation is that as an organization, we're a medium-sized organization, and I think we try where possible, and it's not always possible, to work with vendors and other partners who have a similar culture and mindset to ourselves in terms of pace, agility, customer outlook, and things like that. So when we look at this beauty parade of vendors, you've got to cut through the marketing gloss and say, actually, I'm really not interested in the sales team selling me licensing. It's, can we work with that particular vendor? Do we have a similar mindset? Are they agile? Can we? Because we're an intelligent customer, we like to think, and so we know what we want, we know what we need, and we're going to need developments. And we work very successfully with organizations that are on a similar growth curve to ourselves, who are looking to grow, mature their product, and we can provide valuable feedback to them as well. So it's a mutually viable proposition. It's not just a customer supplier. And it's not always possible, but we think when we've evaluated the market, we've shortlisted vendors, not just have got a great or good platform for here and now, but for in 3 years' time, as we see the market changing, but also that we can work with. And that's really key, because our engine of our organization is going to be this platform. So it's got to do what we need to do. We need somebody who's responsive. So if we go off to one of the Gartner top 4s, one, we don't need a Rolls-Royce service. We need something which fits for our needs. And so I think it's easy to get swayed by the razzmatazz and the gloss of these tools that will do everything. But buyer beware, you will pay for every module, you'll pay for every change, you'll pay for, and so you've got to decide what you fundamentally need from the platform and you as an organization. I think that's where we've worked closely with yourselves as trusted advisors and our experience to try and cut through, and I'm trying to think of a polite word, the dross that you get and that challenge. And actually, my best advice is try a few curveballs. Try some small organizations that you never would have considered. Just see what their story is, because you might be impressed. You might not be, but it's worth the effort.
Yeah, some fascinating insights there, really, in terms of the journey. You've collectively talked a lot about the process there, how you've looked at, evaluated the selection, reaching out to partners like ourselves, trying to get an independent viewpoint where possible, and all of that. What other advice perhaps would you give to other organizations, somebody looking to change their ITSM tool? What kind of tips might you share with them?
I think
Anca, Stuart, either or. Sorry.
no worries. Selecting a new tool is a significant decision that can greatly impact your organization. From an efficiency point of view, from a service delivery point of view. So the best way to go about it is to do heavy research, see as many demos as you can, study case studies, go to events as much as you can. And if you can get access to the environment, to the test environment, there are majority of the vendors now, they allow you to test their environments through demo testing. And if you can get that, do it, because that is the best way, is to test and try to mimic what would you do with the tool if you'd have the tool today. And you can identify lots of things, even if you don't choose the tool, but you can look at the good side of things, and it can bring improvements into your environment, into your organization, and you can put things onto your must-have list, maybe, or should-have list, with things that you can find really good in some of the tools that you are testing. And in this way, you can have at the end of a comprehensive list of what you think that is a need for your organization. So test. That's the best way to go, and to identify your needs and test it across the platforms.
I'm hoping this isn't too controversial a statement.
No, say it. We love it.
I actually feel a lot of the vendors have become very lazy. They know that once you're on their platform, it's not in their interest to get you off. They have no desire to make it an easy platform to onboard, to offboard, and you're stuck with it. And it's that lethargy and lack of inertia, which I think has created a lazy market, which is why I said check out some of the smaller vendors, more agile, because I come at it from a customer experience perspective. If I'm getting a great service, whatever else in life, why would I change? Why make it hard to come on board or off board? And I think it's a very legacy view. You know, as Transputec as a managed service provider, we are very agile. We have to make this and make sure customers want to stay with you, not because they feel they have to. They want to. And I think the ITSM vendor market is still a bit stagnant. There's some new players in it, disrupting the market. And I think there's a bit of laziness that they know for most organizations, it's such a big decision, similar to ourselves, that you're likely not to do it. But actually, I think do something about it. Don't put up with mediocrity from some of these vendors. I think that was too controversial.
No, we can always edit that bit out, Stuart. No worries. But it's a really interesting point, right? And to your comment earlier, Sunil, I think it was, talking about the market itself being highly commoditized, and we're seeing that experience POV from both buying the solution, using the solution, and the solution providing the outcomes to your customers is something that's becoming really, really key now, because it is a differentiator, isn't it? Like, why would you want to not have a great experience? Because anywhere you go where you have that great experience, it sticks, right? Because there's so many places and encounters you have with services where the experience, frankly, is poor, right? So that's a really interesting take on things, Stuart. So thanks for highlighting that.
I think you're right as well, Stuart. I mean, you know, that it's actually a big market. The ITSM enterprise service management market is a big market. And so just by turning up, vendors can win business. You know, just putting themselves out there, somebody will pass by and might go, I'll buy that because it looks the same as all the others. And I do think that engenders a degree of, not, I think laziness is perhaps unfair, but they are not looking for innovative differentiators, many vendors. It feels like they are just addressing basic ITIL fundamentals and not going beyond that. And I think, you know, for an organization like yours, where as you said earlier, right, your service management platform kind of is your business, right? Your business is almost entirely reflected within the tool set and the way in which you present customers. You've got to look for that differentiator. Otherwise, you become very similar to your competition. So I think it's a really a valid point. And there are some new entrants into the market, and you know, we think that you guys have selected one of those, and they're very keen to work with you, and you know, and that should be a long and very fruitful relationship. But it's encouraging to see some new, you know, some new providers coming into the market, that they are trying to challenge that old establishment.
And just to add on that, I think the fact that you guys have gone through such a comprehensive evaluation process, you know, Anca, you mentioned kind of starting to think about this a couple of years ago, to the point where we are today, where right decision has been made, but there's been that evaluative aspect throughout. I suspect, and have no data to back this up, but you know, I suspect a lot of organizations perhaps don't have that thoroughness of evaluation, to the point where, you know, you're saying about the vendors just show up and somebody strolls by and says, you know what, I need a new ITSM solution. You look pretty good, and then get on board, and then, you know, that's them. And to your point, Stuart, about right, once they've got you, you know, there's no impetus there to really care too much, because they know it's such a headache and arduous process to then move tools and so on and so forth. I think that sort of speaks to the laziness or complacency, perhaps, which is interesting, and it allows the innovation and the disruption to take place. So quite an exciting space to be in that respect.
So talking about innovation and disruption, opportunity perhaps to tell us a bit about Transputec and what you guys are doing that's different in the MSP market.
It's funny you should ask us that, Sunil. I'd like to talk about that.
All that preamble to get to this point, hey?
Yeah, exactly.
No. Just before I go on to that, there's one final point I want to make, just for any listeners, is there's no single product or platform, the perfect thing. You know, you've got to go with what's right for you, and it'll be different for everybody. So everyone's always looking for, you know, the top this, the top 5, top 3. You know, it's generation and culturally now, we're all looking for that. And whether you go to Gartner or whoever, you know, using AI to search, or Google, whatever, you've got to really delve below that. Don't worry that, you know, I worry I'm not going for one of the top 4 and it's a bad mistake. You just got to go with, if it meets your needs, go for it, and be that intelligent customer. So I just wanted to make sure people that came across, there are many platforms out there that will do a good job for different use cases. So, okay. But
that is good to know.
Transputec. So I think, you know, I think I've mentioned a few times. If I haven't, I'll mention it again. We're an award-winning MSP. Please check out our website.
What's the name of the company again, Stuart?
Transputec Limited, www.transputec.com.
Link in the description, folks.
Yes, absolutely. Please give us a call. There's a couple of areas where we like to innovate, and we've been operating for over 30 years, and a lot of our growth has been down to referrals from our existing customers. It goes back to customer experience and engagement. And recently, where we're seeing the market and we're innovating, is around experience. And I think I've mentioned that several times, digital experience, which I'll come on to, and obviously AI as an area which we've been developing into and innovating. And I think if I just touch quickly, because I've already mentioned it about the AI, we're using that as an augmentation tool in our business. An augmentation is there to make us more consistent in delivery, to support our existing teams and processes. It's not to replace something. It's not to completely be robotic or automate. And we're very careful on how we use technology like this. And I'm a massive believer in there's got to be human intervention at some point in this process. But the augmentation is there to make sure of consistency of quality. So we've developed within our organization a product called Neo MSP. You can Google that. And that's a product which is going out, it's doing very well in the American market, interestingly, the MSP market, for augmenting smaller size service desks. So that's an area we've been innovating in. And that's a lot based around sort of Microsoft technologies and AI, and that the stack therein. Another area which I'm very passionate about, and Anca is also heavily involved with, is our customer experience and digital experience. And I spend a lot of my time, which is good and bad, dealing with new customer onboarding, contract negotiation. And what I found was a lot of the contracts that are developed are always generated and constructed by lawyers or by technical people within the customer. So by inherently, the view and the outcomes are either from a legalistic perspective, which are generally punitive. How do I get out of this contract? How do I penalize if you don't deliver? Or if they're from technical people, they're very technically focused. My server's got to be available. My network's got to be available. It's all, as you'd expect from the background of the people. And what we're trying to develop is what's called the customer experience or experience level agreements. So we augment, using that term again, augment established SLAs, service level agreements, key performance indicators, which are necessary from a legal and regulatory framework perspective, but to augment our relationships with our customers and the contracts with experience level agreements. And that is a framework which allows you to take emotion and feeling. How do I feel about my experience with Transputec? What was my experience in my support interactions? How did I feel about it? And trying to translate that into a metric which you can assess consistently and regularly. So actually, you can talk to a customer and say, okay, well, our technical metrics, our SLAs, our KPIs, they're good, bad, and different. However, the feelings of your colleagues, they feel this, they feel it's good, they feel this. And that's really a strange concept, I think, in the market, certainly in the MSP market and with certain customers to get, because it's how do you put a price on that? And so what we've been doing is developing it with some of our customers where we've got really good relationships, we've worked with them for many years, to practically implement some of these XLAs, to show how they can bring value both to the customer, to the people we're managing the contracts with, and also to ourselves. So we have a symbiotic relationship which brings value. And actually, we stopped talking about technical stuff, things like that. That just happens. That's reported on. But how do we feel? And I think that's going forwards as part of the MSP market and how we go to market is increasingly is about not just the old school customer satisfaction, but experience over several moments in time. That's your experience. If you keep calling your bank several times, you get an experience. You may get one bad interaction, one good, but over time you have that experience. And that's really, I'm trying just to go from a high level, what is important to us. And that's what we're trying to differentiate ourselves with our customers, is just to say, look, this is what we're passionate around. We want you to have a great experience. And when you don't, we want to hear, we will listen, and we will do something about it. And that's really important about listening. So those are two areas, I think, around customer experience, digital experience, and AI and innovation we're particularly proud of and we're doing in the market at the moment.
I think that's fantastic. And I wonder how much ITSM vendors might learn from that, given some of what we've discussed today around perhaps the experience of engagement hasn't been great, and in some ways, actually, it's the experience of the engagement that you've had with the vendor you've selected that's carried your decision.
I was just going to put a counterpoint to that, is that you, through the evaluation, you fundamentally, you need a tool that is going to do all of the things that we've spoken about in the past 30 minutes or so. However, had you had a really poor dross, terrible, insert cuss word of your choice here, experience with the sales rep, the vendors themselves, etc., and so forth, I would argue that potentially you'd say, well, even though we like the tool, we don't like them, so we're going to go elsewhere, right? So experience does matter. I'm conscious, we've chatted for a little while now, guys. Just to wrap up, it'd be great to hear a little bit more about Transputec. Perhaps to tell us what's great about Transputec aside from the highly innovative things you just described. Stuart, Anca, perhaps you'd like to provide us with some closing thoughts.
From my perspective, Transputec is a great company to work for. It values its employees. It gave me plenty of opportunities to grow. Also, the environment, it's a very positive environment we have lots of support, and Stuart is here to to support that. We all have our ups and downs in our lives, so I do value that, because myself, I went through some difficult moments, and my colleagues. Stuart was here to support me, and that's great, from a company to feel like you are supported, and your colleagues are there for you to help you out, and not just the colleagues. It's about the entire the board of directors. You can talk with anybody. There is no a formal hierarchy where, oh, I'm going to go and report, and all these kind of things that you do with escalation. You can talk with anybody within the company, and you always feel supported. And I think that is great. That's really something that lots of people are looking for, to feel supported.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anca. Stuart, anything to add to that? How much did you pay
Well,
Anca, by the way, to mention those things?
She's obviously ready for a next one-to-one to so after all this, but I think hopefully what comes across is we're very open organisation, very flat organisation, very agile, and I think our colleagues and people here, we work very cohesively as a team, and I think it's that openness allows you to succeed, and if we do make mistakes, that we learn from them. I think it's a family feel. And I think, we all get what we want to achieve. We all understand the outcomes. We all want to drive that customer experience. And I think everyone's there with a similar mindset. So I think, when you can show the company's improving, you can show the culture's improving, you can show we're growing, I think people want to be part of that journey. And I think our colleagues and our staff, they do a fantastic job 24/7, 365 days a year to our customers around the globe. And, you may get the odd issue, but it's how you respond in the face of an issue. And I think that helps with the relationships. We always respond, we deal with it, we don't hide from it. And I think we do that internally and we do that externally. So, it's a very exciting place to work for. And long may it continue, I think, with this new platform coming in. I'm looking forward to it all.
It sounds like it will. I think we are wrapping up, aren't we, Dan? But I just wanted to say thank you ever so much for telling us your story, right? And we've enjoyed talking to you guys and supporting that journey over the last sort of 6-9 months, something like that, or possibly longer, actually. But good luck, and I think Transputec will go from strength to strength based on everything you've said. It's been a pleasure from my perspective.
Yeah, likewise.
Thank you to Xcession for providing that independent advice, and goes back to that listening element. You listened and you helped us, you guided us and nurtured us, and hopefully we were going to use that information. And I'd highly recommend people who are in the market for the new platforms to reach out to Xcession and get that agnostic advice that you need.
The point is in the post, Stuart.
Thank you.
Anca, Stuart, thank you both once again. To our listeners, thank you very much indeed, and see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.